oh, you're so cute. And then they do it again because we say, oh, you're so cute. Every single time they do it, we say, oh, you're so cute.
Hello and welcome to another AMA where we're asking animal-obsessed psychology professor Dr. Suzanne MacDonald your questions about pet behaviour. But before we get into it, we have a couple of special guests we'd like to introduce. Oh, Bruce!
Brucey! There's a good boy. Oh, he's a good boy.
All right, so our first question. What does an animal psychology researcher do, and how on earth did you get into the field?
Oh, well, that's a good question. Well, there aren't very many of us, actually. So psychologists typically study human behavior. We're an animal too, right? So there are some psychologists who study non-human animal behavior. So there are approximately 2 million species on the planet. So it seems a bit isolated to just study one, the humans. So the rest of us study the other 1,999,000 species on the planet. And we study how animals think, how brains work. And so we look at the evolution of thinking, and we look at how different thinking happens in different brains. I'm also a biologist, so I'm also interested in ecology and other kinds of things. But as the psychologist part of me is interested in thinking.
Do you have a favorite animal you like to research?
I do not. It depends on what day it is. And right now it's Bruce because he's sitting right there. I find all animals interesting. I don't find humans all that interesting, but I do find non-humans endlessly fascinating.
And how did you get into it? Did anything inspire you?
When I was about 9, it was all about, conservation, and the world's going straight to hell and the planet's going to be destroyed. And so I started a little conservation club, which was just me, really. and going around door to door and talk to people about conserving nature and all those things that they probably thought I was absolutely insane. And I went to the London Zoo with my parents and talked to the director of the London Zoo to tell him that I thought his chimpanzees were unhappy. And again, I'm sure people were super happy to have a 9-year-old tell them how to do their job. But since then, I've really never stopped doing that. Now I just have more letters after my name.
Okay, lots of questions, mostly about cats and dogs, more dogs than cats. Read into that as you will. What are the Zoomies and why do dogs get them?
Well, first of all, I do love the name Zoomies. I think it's fantastic. So I use it all the time, but the actual term is frenetic random activity period. So
it rolls off the tongue.
Yes, it does, doesn't it? FRAP is the thing. All of this stuff is what we think, right? We can't actually ask an animal, why are you doing that thing? I would love to. That would be the highlight of everyone's life, I think, if we could just ask. But what we think happens is Zoomies are usually, they're seen in dogs, they're seen in cats, they're seen in all sorts of animals. They're often seen in young animals. You see them in the spring, baby goats, and, jumping up in the air and doing that's their equivalent of Zoomies. And it's usually like a burst of energy after a period of sitting down. Cats often, because cats sleep so much at night, we call them evening crazies instead of Zoomies, because it usually happens at night. Very often your cat will be crazy at the same time every night. My little cat is at 10:35 every night. She does the same thing. They've woken up from a snooze and they have a burst of energy. You can actually measure the burst of energy. It really does happen in the brain. Sometimes cats in particular will have that before they have to use the litter box. Something's going on inside and then they go to the litter box. So it does happen for other reasons. It's just a random thing that just happens, and it's just expending energy. And we do it too, like little kids do it too. And sometimes you feel it yourself as an adult. You just feel like you get the Zoomies. And adult dogs get Zoomies, puppies get Zoomies, cats get Zoomies, everybody gets Zoomies once in a while.
My dog Penny likes to get the Zoomies after we've come in from a walk. Doesn't matter how long the walk is. The walk could be a 3-hour hike. We'll come home, Zoomies.
Zoomies. And what does she do? Does she race back and forth? What does she do?
She does what we call pup core, which is parkour for puppies, where she just runs around and jumps off all the furniture, just runs laps around the apartment. And usually we'll pick up a toy, whatever's closest, and start shaking it.
And you can see it's just like, I got so much energy. I had a
Yeah.
walk. It was so good. It
Yeah.
was such a good time.
It's
So
so
you never see.
insulting when you're like, I've spent half my day trying to tire you out and exercise you, and you just like hasn't touched the sides.
But you know, it's an expression. It's like they're happy, right? You don't see a dog that has the zoomies that isn't happy. You don't. That it's a happiness thing. So
Oh,
you see
great!
the
I'll take that as a
little
life
animals,
fan.
yeah, kicking up their heels, you know, and little horses do that too. And it's lovely. So you shouldn't be worried about the zoomies unless it's constant, and then it's like probably some sort of hyperthyroidism or something that's causing that. But if it's just sort of a random little burst, a frap of frenetic random activity, period, then you're okay. That happens.
Someone's asking, why do dogs tilt their head?
Oh, see, but we do that too. You know, have you ever done that when you're thinking and you go, and you look up or you look down? People often thought that's what dogs were doing, but we didn't really have any evidence, but we do now. So there was a study last year published looking at dogs and whether they could learn to associate new words with objects. And so they would train them to associate the words with the objects and then ask the dog to bring that particular object. And most dogs were hopeless at this and couldn't learn the words, but there were a few genius dogs that could do that. And what they noticed is that the genius dogs did this while they were thinking about it. So they actually think that the head tilt is an indication that the dog, just like us, when we're tilting our head sometimes, is actually thinking about it. So it's a very interesting behavior that's correlated with that kind of intelligence. Most dogs don't do it for that reason. I think most dogs do the head tilt because we then go, oh, you're so cute. And then they do it again because we say, oh, you're so cute. Every single time they do it, we say, oh, you're so cute. But you do notice that floppy-eared breeds tend to do the head tilt more, like German Shepherds do it a lot. And oh my gosh, so adorable when they do. And so it may be that they're actually trying to free up their ears to hear better. So because they do that quite a bit when they have floppy ears. So there are probably different reasons why they do the head tilt.
Some dogs, when you give them a larger treat, a chew stick, for example, devour it right then and then. And then others, like my dog, like to hide their chew sticks around the house, and then they get stressed and change the location every hour or two for a couple of days before eating it. And this is a whole performance. There's crying. This is so stressful, and you can't watch where they're hiding it, where it's going. What are they doing?
Well, you know, each individual dog, again, would like to ask Penny, why are you crying? Do you think that Carrie's going to take this from you? Because that's not going to happen. But what your dog's doing is showing her wolf ancestry. So wolves cache food. Other canids do as well. So if they get a large kill, they will take parts of it and they will put it somewhere. And they put it there so they can come back later because they can't eat it all at once. And because other animals find those caches, they move it around so that nobody can keep it. So that's what Penny's doing. She's moving it around so that you don't take it. I don't know why she thinks you would take it, given that you gave it to her, but she must think that somebody's going to come and take it. And it is breed specific. So some breeds are more likely to do that than others. Plus Penny is pretty smart. And I think she's probably like, hey, I've got to make sure I remember where this is, and I know where it is, and I'm going to come back later and get this thing. But
except sometimes she tries to hide it under my butt. If I'm sitting on the sofa, she'll bury it underneath me. Yeah.
She's not that smart. That's the thing. Dogs always do a thing. You go, oh my God, they're just geniuses. And until they do a thing like that, you go, oh, well, maybe let's revisit that genius idea. It's not, but it's an innate behavior, right? So she has no control over it. She's just going to do it.
So what about the times then, if I'm laying on the sofa, sometimes she'll come and she'll bring said stick and like give it to me, put it on my chest, like offer it to me. Is she sharing?
She is.
I'm sad.
You're her dominant, right? Yeah.
Okay.
Dogs are pretty easy, these behaviors, because we see them in wolves and other canids as well. So, you know, you're the dominant and you're there. She's going to share with you. It's lovely. It's like when the cat brings you a mouse, but cats bring you mice because they're like, oh, you're so dumb. You can't seem to find your own. So here you go. I give this to you for dinner. It's very sweet. We should be happy.
Someone's asking, why does their cat have a different meow for birds?
So I'm assuming that when they say a different meow, they mean that that you see cats do when they are looking at a bird through the window. That is called either a chatter or a chitter or a chirp or whatever you want to call it, but it is kind of a chatter. It's like the bird or a squirrel or whatever movement outside the window is actually triggering an innate reflex in their brain, and the innate reflex is to jump on that thing. The window's in the way, though. They can't do it, so they're actually frustrated. Their behavior is frustrated. They're not feeling frustration, but maybe they are. The movement triggers this reflex, and the reflex is frustrated, and that's the thing that results. They don't do it outside so much unless they're far away from the animal and they see it, and then they go, and then they start, trying to ambush it. If they mean that they have a different meow, which is not a chatter, I don't know if they do. They may, but cats definitely have a different meow for talking to their owners than they do anybody else. And domestic cats meow to their owners much more than they meow to each other. So they don't actually communicate all that much to each other. They communicate to us because that's how we communicate. So,
and when cats are kneading,
making biscuits,
yeah. What are they doing other than plucking our blankets?
Well, so if you watch kittens with their mom, they do that to stimulate the production of milk in their mom, their release of milk. So when they do that to you, you're their mom. It's just the nicest thing. It's lovely. So when they actually do that, it hurts like heck though, because they have such very sharp little claws. But when they do it to you, they're saying they're comfortable, they're relaxed, you're their mom, that they're feeling super happy. And sometimes you'll see them drool when they do it too. They're just like, oh yeah, now we're talking. Like, I'm just gonna be doing this for a while. Some kittens that are separated from their moms too early will do that with blankets. They'll suck blankets and do that with a blanket because they weren't weaned properly. So you do see kind of these aberrant behaviors that occur.
We don't deserve animals.
We don't.
Why do cats love cardboard boxes?
Well, again, I would love to be able to ask them that, but here are my speculations. So cats are ambush predators. As you know this, if you have a cat, you know that you walk past someplace and suddenly a cat leaps out upon you. And usually it's leaping on you from a box. Cats love to sit in boxes and jump out of boxes at you or put their paws out at you as you walk by because they're ambush predators. So they're not thinking about it. That's just what they do. However, we often don't realize that cats are not only predators, they're actually prey, especially domestic, smaller cats. Even in the city, coyotes want to eat your cat. So they have evolved to be both predators and prey. And so sitting in cardboard boxes is a really safe spot for them. They know nobody's behind them. They've got complete control of it, and they can ambush anybody that walks by. So it's like perfect. And I'm not just talking your cat. I'm talking tigers. I'm talking lions. They all love boxes because I work with the exotic animals more than pets. And all the cats love boxes. And there was a craze a couple of years ago about people putting like tape on the floor in the shape of a box. And some cats even will go and sit inside the 2D version of a box. That's how strong this is, that they need to be in a thing. Mine completely ignored that, by the way. I tried very hard because I thought, oh, wouldn't that be an interesting experiment? No, not for mine. Mine just like, what are you doing? Take the tape off the floor.
Someone's asking if there's sort of more concrete research on this now. How did the pandemic impact our pets, and how are they doing now that we're leaving the house again?
Yeah, I mean, research is happening right now to look at that. And I think there's a lot of pandemic puppies, right? We have heard about that. And that is probably not the greatest thing. They have pretty bad separation anxiety when people do leave the house. Animal behavior specialists who work with dogs are certainly seeing a lot more people coming for help with that, because if you have a puppy that's never been separated from you, ever for like 2 years, and then suddenly you go, all right, bye-bye, I'll see you in 8 hours. They don't know what to do with themselves. So I think that's the primary one, that dogs are having a really hard time. I'm not sure about cats. I think cats are pretty much like, oh, okay. Well, I'll see you later then. But I do think they did notice that we were around a lot, and then suddenly we weren't around as much. So nobody I know is studying how cats are reacting, but a lot of people are studying that. I'm sure the results will be out.
Are there any general tips for soothing separation anxiety, either in the pet or the human?
Well, yeah, it's both, isn't it? And I think
It
they
is.
pick up on our behavior when we go, I'm so sorry, I have
Yeah.
to go to work. I don't want to go. Yeah, that's not great. Don't do
No.
that to your dog. Just make it seem like a totally normal thing. It'll be fine. You know, I'll see you. It'll be okay. I'm coming back. It's okay. It's probably the best idea. And I hope that people have already done this, is to do it gradually. So, you know, say, okay, I'm going to go out. I'm going to go to the store and come back. And then, okay, I'm going to go to a movie and come back. And then, okay, I'm going to go to work and then come back. It's the coming back, right? They don't think you're coming back, and they don't have a great sense of time. So all they know is in any given moment, you're not there and you're supposed to be there at all times. So you just have to get them used to the fact that you're not going to be there at all times, just which you would do normally with a puppy. And if you know, get a dog sitter to come during the day if it's really bad and come in and check on them and take them for a walk or do whatever. You don't want to leave a dog too long anyway.
So this is one of my favorite questions that somebody asks. Can pets, really dogs, but pets, really use the buttons we've seen to communicate with us? Or is this social media tomfoolery and crafty editing? And
you know, I wish I knew the answer to that, because I've watched all those videos going, really? So I work a lot with primates, and it is exceedingly difficult to teach primates to use these buttons, not chimpanzees so much. It's still difficult to train because it's not a thing that they know how to do. But, you know, like monkeys, it's difficult. And I watch these dogs, and there seem to be a couple dogs who definitely know like 150 symbols and can use them. But I'm not sure how much of an impact the owner has on this behavior. We shape our animals so much, and they are so good at picking up our cues. That's the beautiful thing of dogs, is they evolve with us and they know how to read us. I think there's a lot of that cueing going on, not intentional on part of the owner, but just, you know, you can use your eyes when a dog is going to one button or another, and, you know, your eyes flick and the dog picks up on that and knows to go from one to the other. So I watched this on YouTube, this little Pomeranian Mocha, who's really cute. Her owner is really lovely, and the little dog, you can see the dog is watching the owner to see which things she should pick. And that's amazing that a dog is that tuned to an owner. That's the thing we should be focusing on, that they can pick up on the very subtle cues that we're giving them. So I'm not sure how much of this is internally motivated by the dog, or more that the dog wants to please the owner and is trying to communicate whatever it is the owner really wants the dog to hear. There's a cat that does it too. I've watched all these videos, and the cat mostly just sits there and is angry. So it's awesome. I know there are a few dogs who have been trained to associate words with objects and buttons with objects, and that they're really good, but they're not making sentences. Even working with chimpanzees and bonobos and orangutans who've been language trained, they don't talk about stuff like you think they're going to. So they're not like, can you believe the weather out there? It's really so much better than yesterday. Or, you know, what do you think of the news about whatever? There's no chatting going on. It's always like, I want food. I want to go for a walk. I want a belly rub. This is regardless whether you're a chimp or you're a dog. They're not communicating deep feelings. They're just communicating a word. And that word is interpreted by humans. So I am skeptical. I think it's amazing. And again, I think it's mostly amazing that they're able to figure out how to do a thing that pleases us. And that's good enough for me.
Well, this is a really nice segue into maybe an unfair question to ask, but I'm obsessed with asking it. Why do we love anthropomorphizing our pets or animals in general? Do we know?
We don't. Nobody knows, but it's a human thing, right? We do it with inanimate objects too. So yeah. If you remember the IKEA commercial with the lamp, everyone's crying for the lamp. And then the guy comes on and goes,
many of you feel bad for this lamp. That is because you're crazy. It has no feelings.
Humans are built to do that for anything with eyes, or anything that looks vaguely like a face, or anything that you can tell a story about. We get very, very engaged. Hence the reason we cry at cartoons. It probably evolved because it makes us look after our children And, anything with big eyes and anything that looks helpless, we feel like we have to look after it. And that's probably good for everybody.
Hopefully. Well, that's all we have time for today. Thank you all so much for tuning in. If you have more questions, drop them in the comments below and we will ask Suzanne and follow up.
You bet.